These are my placenta pills. What does that mean? Exactly what you think. Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm sorry it's not been very consistent, but there's been a lot of stuff going on. I'm not going to get into it right now, but maybe I'll share it in a later video. Today, now that you know how we give birth in our spare room, I'm going to talk about our postpartum recovery and share some tips on how I recovered really fast. So I'm going to talk about the postpartum recovery for someone who's given birth naturally. Like, we had a natural, completely unmedicated home birth. So if you're someone who's had a cesarean section or someone who is recovering from CS or thinking of having a CS, I don't know what that entails in terms of the recovery process, but you know, keep watching and maybe you'll find something that you like. To start with, after we had our baby, my midwife said, you're gonna feel like you've been run over by a truck. And especially having been in labor for 4 days, I really felt completely wiped out. And I can't explain it. It was the worst I've ever felt in my life. You know, like, I felt like I'd been bitten by thugs and I'd been torn apart by a shark, and I don't even know how to say it, but it was a lot. And so I had my husband who really helped me. The first 2 to 3 days, I literally didn't move from my bed except for going to the bathroom and having a shower, which I was like procrastinating on doing just because I really didn't want to move. And it was a huge help to have him take care of me and do everything. I mean, I would just recommend, if you have someone that is willing to take care of everything, cleaning and cooking, taking care of the baby, changing nappies, like he did absolutely everything. And he would just bring the baby to me to breastfeed and then take her away both day and night. And the first few days, like, you know, you're sleeping as much as you can because you're exhausted, and I'm gonna get into that, but it really helps to have that support system. And that's the number one thing in your postpartum recovery. Just have someone take care of everything. This is what I used to try and soothe my bits. It's called Bottoms Up Soothing Bottom Spray. I still have quite a lot of it left, so it's quite a generous amount even though it's a small bottle. And basically, I remember hearing people saying, oh, you're gonna have to like put water in a basin or in a bucket and put salt, like warm water with salt, and sitting on it. And I guess that works. I'm not sure, I never tried it. This is what I used. My midwife recommended it and I found it online and I bought it. It really helped to soothe the bits down there because everything is so sore and so stretched and so not so nice. But with this spray, it really helped to just take care of bits, especially like every time I went to the toilet, every time I had a shower, I would spray it after. I would recommend it if you can get your hands on it. It was really good for my postpartum recovery. I used it for about 2 weeks to a month. Eventually, like, you don't need to use it so much anymore, but it was really useful. Adult diapers is something that I found to be way more effective than using pads. After having a baby, you're going to be bleeding for a few days, sometimes for a week, some people for even 2 weeks, a month. I found adult diapers to be so much more effective, so much more comfortable. I didn't have to worry about like how I was lying in bed, how I was moving around, and they're really affordable. They're available in most supermarkets, but obviously use what you find and what you think is more accessible to you and more available and affordable for you. For me, I found the adult diapers to be so much easier to use and so much nicer and so much more just freeing. These are my placenta pills. What does that mean? Exactly what you think. I had my placenta turned into capsules that I could take, and they are simple, just capsules. I don't know if you can see. And I have to say, I didn't think I would ever be talking about ingesting my placenta, but it was something which came up when we're talking about what to do and how to give birth and where to give birth. And then because we had a midwife and because we had a home birth, the idea of what to do with the placenta came up, and I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. But then I looked into it, and then it turns out that it's something which supposedly helps with postpartum recovery. I don't know the science behind it. I mean, I've read a bit about it. All I know is the placenta is packed with nutrients, and it's got like the best stuff that your baby feeds from. There's different schools of thought, especially with different cultures and different backgrounds. So wherever you go in the world, there's going to be some other thing that people will say about what to do with the placenta. Some people bury it, some people give sacrifice to it and burn it and have a ceremony behind it. I mean, people have different things that they do with it. All I know is there was definitely a school of thought that is something that if you can, you should ingest, and that it's supposed to help with your postpartum recovery. And our midwife says as part of her service of giving you a home birth, she can turn your placenta into cubes if you wanted to use it into a smoothie. I didn't like the idea of having bits of my placenta in my smoothie, but the idea of turning it into a capsule sounded like it's all right. And it was funny because the person who she linked us with happened to live in our neighborhood. So there's been so many coincidences with this birthing and postpartum experience. But I would say if you're someone who is either open to the idea or is not completely closed off from the idea, because I wasn't necessarily open to the idea, but then I was like, okay, that's interesting, let me look into it. And within 2 weeks, I was completely like up and about, back to feeling great, even after having the worst labor and after having a home birth without any medication. Whether it's because of exercising throughout my pregnancy or whether it's because of my genes, I don't know, but I think this had a part to play and I would recommend looking into it. One other thing that people say, and the reason why I still have them, is that you can keep them for in case you have postpartum depression. I didn't suffer from postpartum depression, but a lot of moms do, and it's a very common thing. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing to shun away from or to be shy about talking about. It's definitely something which this is said to be very useful in helping curb that or solve that problem. So I was told once you're finished ingesting, because I think my dosage was twice a day, and then after 1 week to reduce to once a day, and then that was it. And so that's why I still have so many of them left. But then basically I'm still keeping them because apparently as long as you keep them in the fridge, you should be able to ingest them at a later date if and when something happens. And also apparently in the future they could come in handy. I don't know. I mean, listen guys, I'm just open to seeing what happens, okay? So I'm still holding on to them until I don't need to hold on to them, and that's basically it. So some people might think this is really weird and crazy and freaky and maybe a bit too, I don't know, out there, but for me and for us, we just thought, why not? If it's something that people actually do, there's someone around the corner who's actually got a machine to make them into capsules. It's a known practice. Okay, fair enough, he's not Kenyan, but it's something which we were like, let's see what happens. And yeah, I can't complain. So yeah, look into it if you're as open to it as I was. Another thing that I think really helped with my postpartum recovery was exercising. And I'm not talking about like full on going back to proper exercise regime. For me, I think just simple things like getting out, getting some air, going for little walks. Within a week, we were just getting out, and I would do slow, but at least a half-hour walk. Even if it's 10 minutes, even if it's 5 minutes, guys, it just made such a world of difference to get out and get some air. Rather than just staying cooped up and not leaving the house, I would recommend getting just a few stretches, standing up, walking around, even if it's within the house. If for nothing else, at least for your mental health, I would recommend just doing a little bit of exercise, even though it's not very much. Before having the baby, we were advised to stock up the fridge, and that was a huge lifesaver, so that we didn't have to worry about getting out to get food every other time. We didn't have to worry about going shopping. We didn't have to worry about what to eat. It was just there. Like, we cooked huge batches of food and then we stuck it in the freezer. All we had to do was just like take the food out, defrost it, and eat it. And especially since my husband was doing everything the first few days, it was also useful for him because he also needed to rest. It was useful for him to not have to worry about what am I going to cook, what are we going to eat. It was all just there, ready to go. And I would recommend, if you can do that, just look into what kind of dishes you'd want to cook batches of, stock your fridge. Even if you have a hospital birth, you don't want to be worrying about getting food or where to go. So if you can just think about what to eat beforehand and then cook loads of it and then stock it in the freezer, that was a really big help. One huge tip, just pay attention. It really helped to not have visits right away. I know some people are eager to have people come in and show the baby off and all of that, but for us, not having anybody, and I said to my family, I said, don't come and visit until we're ready. And of course, you know, there was 1 or 2 people who broke the rule and just showed up anyway, just because we're like, what the hell? you had a home birth, what? But other than that, it was like most of my family was very good. They never interrupted us, they never insisted on coming, and we had a solid, at least solid 2 weeks of just us. And that was so big. I just kept thinking, how do people do it when they give birth and then they just have people coming and going all day through the days? I couldn't imagine it, and I think it really helped. Maybe that's another reason why I recovered so fast, because I just had like myself and my newborn, no noise, no feeling like I had to entertain anybody, no feeling like I had to talk to anybody. Like, it was just so good to just be like. So I would recommend, if you can, tell your family and your friends, please don't come until we're ready. Another thing that's really important to do, whether you have a CS or whether you have a natural birth, I think is generally give yourself time. And by this I mean, don't be too hard on yourself. Don't beat yourself up because you can't move as fast as you could, or because you can't lift things as well as you did before, or because you're not, you know, rushing to your baby or giving your baby as much attention as you thought you would be able to, because your body's gone through a lot and you need time to recover. So just give yourself time, be very patient with yourself, and for everything, if you know you can't do it, if you feel like it's too much or it's too hard or it's too painful, stop. Just listen to your body, give yourself time. Eventually you'll get there, even though it's taking a long time. For some people, they're bouncing back and they're ready to go within a week. For some people, it takes a month before they can move a muscle, even months. That's fine. We're all different. I think that's one of the things I keep reiterating. We're all very different. All our experiences are going to be different. All our like pregnancies and birth experiences are going to be different. We're all very different. So just give yourself some time. There's a very common saying, sleep when the baby sleeps. I don't have to add anything to that. It's exactly what it is. You just have to rest as much as you can, because again, your body's been through a lot, and also you're gonna need the sleep because, you know, this baby is gonna be very demanding and very needy when he or she is awake. So if you can, ask for help, take the rest. Don't be too proud, don't push yourself, listen to your body, rest. I don't want to repeat myself too much. One more thing I'm gonna talk about, but I didn't do it, but I wish I did it. So I never used a belly band or a belly brace. Different people have different names for it, but it's basically where you wear something around your belly to keep yourself together. Most people do it to try and push their belly back in, and I got a lot of criticism. I remember walking around and people saying to me, when I giving birth, and I was like, I already gave birth 2 weeks ago or a month ago, whatever, because my belly was so big even after. And I remember people asking me, you know, why are you not tying your stomach? In Kenya they say like tying your stomach or monofungi tumbo. And so like for me, my main thing was I was gonna lose the weight naturally, and I was gonna get my belly back in shape through exercise. So I wasn't going to like give myself the pressure. Eventually I kind of buckled. I do confess I did buckle under the pressure, but in the end I realized that I didn't need it so much for my belly to go down, and I honestly didn't think I would have needed it for my belly. I think my belly would have gone down anyway. I think it would have been really helpful for my back, because guys, the first week after having the baby, I had the worst backaches, and those bits where I would literally wake up screaming, and my husband was just like, what the hell, I thought we're done with this labor thing. But then it was like, I felt like my back was just being hammered in, and I'm not exaggerating. It was so painful, guys, that I didn't know this. I didn't even know like a belly band was gonna supposedly give me support or whatever. But I watched a video of someone else talking about how she wore it not for the belly going down or for the vanity or anything. She wore it because of, and she was having her third baby. So for her, I think it was more like she'd already gone through this and she kind of knew you need to have a belly band because it gives you back support. I saw this much later, guys. If I'd seen that video, I'd have been like, you know what, I'm gonna try that to see if it gives me a back support, because after you have a baby, like your core strength is like non-existent. It's like gone. There's like nothing. And then, you know, because you've been carrying all this weight, I guess maybe like your back was used to a certain posture, and then suddenly it's just like there's no weight. And I don't even know how to explain it. I don't know what I'm trying to explain. All I know is I ended up buying a belly band maybe after 2 months or more than that. So like I probably should have done it that first week. So I didn't do it again, but I think it maybe might help. But it's worth sharing just because I feel like because I didn't do it, I suffered for it. And I had to get, there was one time I told my husband, you have to go and get me painkillers. And it was like in the middle of the night, and he had to go and look for a chemist that was open at like 11 in the night or whatever. And yeah, it was really tough. It was so very painful. I couldn't even hold the baby. It was bad. I would recommend looking into it if you're someone who is open to the idea of a belly band, not necessarily for vanity. I mean, even if you're doing it for vanity, maybe it'll help your back. Just look into it and see if it's something that might work for you. That's the end of my video. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and hopefully see you in the next one.